Hello, welcome to Jennifer's Magical Book Club. Today I am here to read the novel Paperboy. I'm going to continue from page 98, so I'm gonna start. I knew he meant newspaper news, but it was my chance to see if we could have another long talk. I lifted the straps of the newspaper bags over my head and laid them on the porch. Would you have time to answer some questions? Certainly. Mr. Sparrow took a sip of his steaming coffee. I have a good cup of joe and a good traveler at my side. Anybody else would have answered with one or two words, but Mr. Sparrow made you feel like he was excited about the same thing you were excited about. We sat on the porch swing. I reached into the back pocket of my shorts and pulled out the pieces of paper in my questions. It was only a little wet from sweat. I handed it to Mr. Sparrow. He didn't take it. Our goal is dialogue, messenger. That takes two. I have all the time we need, so I would like to hear you ask your questions. I should have known Mr. Sparrow wouldn't let me get away with just handing him my list. I looked down at the piece of paper and started getting the first question lined up inside my head. Do grown-ups think kids are humans? Yes. I waited because no eyes blinking meant there was no more coming. That is the quick answer to your query, but I believe the question you really wish to ask is, are adults good at communicating with young people? Mr. Sparrow had hit the nail on the head. Then he answered the question. I'm afraid I would have to answer that query in the negative. Why? I asked it without a stutter because W's have built-in gentle air. More reasons than we can know, but I would sum up by saying it's because many adults are uncomfortable with themselves. That answer took some going over in my head. Mr. Sparrow gave me a few seconds and then went on. Adults, or grown-ups, as you most graciously refer to them, have a difficult time talking with children because young people don't understand a code. Mr. Sparrow twisted toward me on the swing. Example, an adult says, I'll have to think about that. What do you think the adult means? I shook my head even though my mother said that to me all the time. The translation is, what you asked about is not going to happen, so don't bring up the matter again. I smiled because that was what it usually meant for me. Tell me some more about this code. What do you think adults mean when they say, that's not something we should talk about until you're older? I shook my head again. It can be decoded as, I don't know how to answer you. When will I be an adult? Who's to say? You might be further along than you realize. Mr. Sparrow got up from the swing. I am a rude host. I have this good cup of coffee and you are without sustenance. How would a lemonade suit you? I wasn't all that thirsty because my father had bought me a giant Coca-Cola at the movie, but Mr. Sparrow was already headed into the house before I could get anything out of my mouth. He came out soon with a glass of lemonade about as big as I could hold in one hand. It was sweet like Ma'am made it because she always made sure the sugar was stirred up. The glass was full of big lemons that were cut in half and squeezed. Not like the thin slices my mother cut and that you couldn't do anything with. I took big swallows. Now let me ask a few questions while you imbibe. He asked me some questions that I could answer mostly with a yes or a no. The best kinds of questions for me. Do you like school? Most times. Do you have siblings? No. What does your father do for a living? I thought about telling Mr. Sparrow what I had seen on my birth certificate in the closet, but decided the time wasn't right to talk about that. He takes care of money for people. Do you think he enjoys his works? I nodded. He spends plenty of time doing it. Then Mr. Sparrow said one of those things that seemed important without me knowing why. One of the most beautiful happenstances of life is the person doing precisely what he knows is intended for him. Unfortunately, a rare situation. I let the words say on the blackboard in my head. I looked down at my wrinkled piece of paper for another question. How can I be smart like you? Mr. Sparrow let out another one of his short laughs and then took a long drink of coffee. He looked straight ahead like he was working on the answer or making a plan. Would you care to come inside for a moment? I looked away and wasn't sure what to say. Rat had told me that going into a house on the roof was against the rules. Mr. Sparrow stood. I know it might be against newspaper regulations or against your parents' wishes, but I can assure you it is proper in this context. I didn't have to think too long because I wanted to see the inside of Mr. Sparrow's house all along. I was nervous, but not from knowing it might have to say something. The nervousness came from being excited, just like before the first pitch of a ball game. The house was not going to be like my house. I was sure of that. But I didn't know what to expect. Never in a gazillion years could I have guessed what I was going to see. Books, hundreds, thousands, wall to wall, floor to ceiling. But it wasn't like a library because the books weren't on shelves. They were in wooden crates with the crates laid on their sides and stacked on top of each other. The crates were different sizes and remind me of giant alphabet blocks the way they were stacked on the floor. Some crates still had the bright colored paper stickers on the side, showing that the boxes had been used for oranges or bananas, and some of the crates had words on them written in foreign languages. In the living room, the crates covered almost every part of the walls, leaving openings only for doors and windows. A big soft chair sat in the middle of the room with a floor lamp next to it. On the left side of the room was a pair of glass-paned doors leading to another room that had even crates of books. A small bed covered with a white sheet and a double-sized pillow with arms on it sat in the middle of the floor with books and scattered around it. A ceiling light with an extra long cord hung down so that the light bulb dangled just above the bed. So I'm done till page 102. I hope you enjoyed this part too. And I'll continue next time from page 103. I hope you enjoyed and see you next time. Have a nice day. Bye.